Alright guys, so today's video is going to be a little bit different than usual, because today we're launching the first episode of a new monthly series I'm calling This Month in AI, where we'll be taking a look at literally everything that happened in the AI space during the entire month of March. So every model release, every new feature, every tool, every big update, every research breakthrough, every crazy thing that was said by someone important in the industry, every new real-world application, basically every significant thing that's happened in the AI space in the month of March. Now, we'll be breaking this up into categories, as you can see on screen, and these categories will also be in the timestamps. So if there's a specific area you're interested in, you can jump straight to it, or if you're brave enough, take in an entire month's worth of rapid AI progress in a 1-hour video. That is what I would recommend if you think you can handle it. Now, let's kick things off with the models. We're talking LLMs, image models, video models, and voice models. What dropped this month, and what really stood out. So March was a massive month for LLMs, especially on the open source side. We saw huge releases from Google, OpenAI, Mistral, and a whole wave of Chinese AI labs that are clearly starting to catch up. We're going to start with the biggest drops, the ones that made headlines and topped benchmarks. Then we'll hit the more under-the-radar releases, and at the end, we'll crown the B-Modem, the best model of the month. So first up, we've got Gemini 2.5 Pro. This was a highly anticipated release, and honestly, I'd say it pretty much lived up to the hype. As you can see from the benchmarks, it's exceptional at heavy reasoning tasks. It's state-of-the-art on humanity's last exam and trails just behind Grok 3 on the GPQ-A and the AMI. But where this model really shines is in coding. Not only does it score 63.8% on SWE-bench, a score that only Claude 3.7 Sonnet beats, it's also being widely recognized as the best coding model out right now by many in the AI community. Here's an office simulator game with the entire codebase generated by Gemini 2.5 Pro. And here's another, a physics simulator, fully AI generated and fully controllable. Now here's the wild part. Gemini 2.5 Pro is the only model out there with a 1 million token context window, and it was just made available to everyone for completely free. Oh, and it's been sitting at the top of the LM Arena leaderboards ever since it dropped. Now, we already mentioned Claude 3.7 Sonnet, and technically, this model dropped right at the end of February. But since this is the first monthly recap video, we're including it here. And honestly, there's no way we could have left this one out. As I said earlier, Claude is the only model that beats Gemini 2.5 Pro on SWE-bench, but only with custom scaffolding. Without it, Gemini actually has a slight edge, scoring 63.8% to Claude's 62.3%. But what's important to note about this model is that it's the first hybrid reasoning model on the market. That means it combines the strengths of a foundation model like GPT-4 for example, with the step-by-step logic of a reasoning model like OpenAI's o1. Alongside this release, Anthropic also introduced Claude Code, their first true coding agent. While it's still far from being a fully autonomous coding agent, it's a clear sign that Anthropic is starting to move in that direction. And they're not the only ones. Here's what Dario Amodei, CEO of Anthropic, said earlier this month about the future of coding.
I do have a fair amount of concern about this. On one hand, I think comparative advantage is a very powerful tool. If I look at coding, programming, which is one area where AI is making the most progress, what we are finding is we are not far from a world, I think we'll be there in 3 to 6 months, where AI is writing 90% of the code. And then in 12 months, we may be in a world where AI is writing essentially all of the code.
So yeah, we're really just getting started. Next up, we've got a major update to OpenAI's GPT-4o model. This update improves GPT-4o's ability to follow detailed instructions, tackle complex technical and coding problems, and boosts its intuition and creativity across the board. According to Artificial Analysis, GPT-4o now outperforms both Claude 3.7 Sonnet and Gemini 2.0 Flash on several key benchmarks, including reasoning and coding tasks. It's also now considered the best non-reasoning model for coding, showing consistently strong results across multiple benchmarks. And on top of all of that, GPT-4o has been quietly climbing the LM Arena leaderboard, now sitting in second place just behind Gemini 2.5 Pro, which for a non-reasoning model is pretty insane. Now, just like with Claude 3.7 Sonnet, this next one technically dropped at the very end of February, but it was big enough to still dominate discussion well into March. I'm talking about GPT 4.5, the model that might be OpenAI's most underrated release yet. According to the Simple QA benchmark, it's their most accurate model to date and the least likely to hallucinate. It also scores higher than GPT 4o in human preference evaluations, which is likely due to its more natural, human-like writing style. So while this model doesn't exactly crush benchmarks, it's a clear sign that there's still room to scale up foundation models. We also got another major model update this month from China with DeepSeek v3. This was an even bigger leap in performance compared to the GPT-4o update. And according to Artificial Analysis, DeepSeek v3 is now the top performing non-reasoning model across the board. But DeepSeek wasn't the only one. Alibaba's Qwen team also dropped QwQ-32b, a model that's not just fast and open source, but easily one of the smartest reasoning models available today. As you can see, it's performing on par with models like DeepSeek R1 and O1 Mini on several benchmarks. For a 32 billion parameter model, that's seriously impressive. We'll definitely have to consider it for this month's B-Modem. Now, if you thought that was impressive, March also brought a whole wave of open source, high-performing, and cost-effective models out of China. One of those being Baidu's foundation model, ERNIE 4.5, and reasoning model, ERNIE X1. ERNIE 4.5 actually outperforms GPT 4.5 on multiple benchmarks. And get this, it's 99% cheaper. Yes, 99%. And their reasoning model, ERNIE X1, is reportedly performing on par with DeepSeek R1 at half the cost. But it doesn't stop there. This wave was absolutely massive. We also got multiple releases from Tencent, Hunyuan-T1 and Hunyuan-T1. Hunyuan-T1 is actually a hybrid model, not in the same sense as Claude 3.7 Sonnet, but in its architecture. It's built with a mix of transformer layers and Mamba layers, combining the strengths of both. As you can see, it's pretty much on par with the older GPT-4o and DeepSeek v3 versions, as well as Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Now, Hunyuan-T1, which is actually their reasoning model built on top of Turbo-S, is also quite impressive. It's more or less on par with DeepSeek R1 and OpenAI's O1, trailing just behind them on key benchmarks like the Math 500, GPQA, and so on. There was also this new reasoning model from LG Research out of South Korea called EXA-1 Deep. EXA-1 Deep is a 32 billion parameter model, and it's matching the performance of DeepSeek R1 and OpenAI's O1 on benchmarks like the AMI and the Math 500. They also dropped two smaller versions, a 7.8B and a 2.4B. And honestly, both are performing surprisingly well for their size. Now, that still wasn't the end of it. Alibaba followed up with even more models, including Qwen 2.5 VL32b Instruct, a vision language model that actually outperforms Mistral Small 3.1, and Google's Gemma 3 on multiple benchmarks. Then there's Qwen 2.5 Omni, a model that can see, hear, talk, write. Basically, it does it all. This model shows strong performance across the board, across multiple modalities. And finally, there's QVQ-Max, a visual reasoning model that understands images and videos and can even learn how to code just by watching. So yeah, if there's one thing we learned in March, if we didn't already know it, China is catching up fast. They're pumping out super cost-effective, high-performing models left and right. And as Taiwanese businessman and computer scientist Kei-Fu Lee put it, Sam Altman is probably not sleeping well. Now, that covers the heavyweights, but we also saw a ton of smaller but still important model drops this month. So let's run through those real quick before we move on. Starting with OpenAI quietly previewing a creative writing model. There's no release date yet, but Sam Altman says it was the first time something written by AI actually moved him. On a similar note, we got Muse, an AI model specifically trained for writing fiction. Long-form storytelling, characters, plot arcs, all generated by AI. Then, Google's Gemma 3, a fast, efficient, and very lightweight multimodal model built specifically for developers creating custom AI applications. Mistral Small 3.1, a 24 billion parameter model with strong performance, and the fastest in its category by a wide margin. Reka Flash 3, a 21 billion parameter reasoning model from Reka AI, performing surprisingly well for its size on reasoning benchmarks. Olmol 32b, released by the Allen Institute for AI, a fully open source research model with a strong academic focus. Cohere's Command A, small, fast, open source, and optimized for demanding enterprise needs like retrieval augmented generation, RAG, speed, and privacy. And finally, Nvidia's new family of open source reasoning models, designed for developers and enterprises building agentic AI platforms. Alright, so we covered the LLMs. Now it's time to get into the image models, video models, and voice models. And of course, we still gotta pick the B modem at the end. So for image models, let's start with Gemini 2.0 Flash, which added native image generation this month. Native image generation means the model itself is producing the image. It's not handing your prompt off to a separate system like ImageGen or DALL-E behind the scenes. That means it can actually understand the full context of your conversation, follow-up prompts, and stylistic intent all in one go. It's especially good at generating consistent characters, as you can see, rendering text accurately, and just giving you way more control over the output. This drop also stirred up a bit of controversy after people realized it could perfectly remove watermarks from images just by asking. Definitely something I don't think Google anticipated. Now, while we're on the topic of native image generation, we gotta talk about GPT-4o. OpenAI officially added native image generation to the model this month, and the internet immediately went wild. I mean, for a few days after the release, my entire X feed was just flooded with Ghibli-style anime images. It was literally everywhere. But what probably didn't get enough attention was the model's ability to create insanely accurate and detailed graphic cards. These can be used in education, advertising, social media, product design, basically anywhere visuals matter. So yeah, technically Google did drop native image generation first, but as always, OpenAI just did it better. Now, while the big labs were busy making image gen native, Ideogram was out here just perfecting the craft. They dropped Ideogram 3.0 this month, and it's a pretty major step forward. The model is now significantly better at generating clean, readable fonts and placing them naturally inside scenes, whether it's logos, posters, signage, or packaging. Honestly, this has always been the weak spot for a lot of image models, but Ideogram 3.0 is one of the first, outside of native image gen, to actually get this right. You can literally create full-blown advertisements with this model now. And last but not least, a new AI startup came out of stealth this month and introduced Reve Image 1.0. They're claiming it's the best image model in the world. A bold statement, but just looking at some of these generations, what really stands out is the hyper-realism. The lighting, reflections, shadows, it's all incredibly sharp and photorealistic, especially on portraits and cinematic style scenes. They also have the proof to back up their claim, as this model has been comfortably sitting at the top of artificial analysis image model leaderboard since it dropped. Even GPT-4o's native image gen couldn't dethrone it, at least not yet. Alright, now moving on to the video models. There weren't many this month, but definitely some worth noting. Let's start with Luma Labs, who introduced Ray 2 Flash, a version of their video model that's now 3 times faster and cheaper to run. So this isn't a brand new model, but a huge upgrade in terms of speed, efficiency, and accessibility. Luma Labs also introduced a set of new tools for Ray 2, Keyframes, Extend, and Loop. These are brand new features that give you precise frame-by-frame control over your generations, the ability to extend a generation or even an existing video, and the ability to loop an AI generation so that it continuously plays seamlessly. We're quickly moving from simple prompt-based tools to having real, creative control over how AI generates motion. Now, Runway made some noise this month too, introducing Gen 4 on the very last day of March. They describe it as a significant step forward in fidelity, dynamic motion, and controllability for generative media. And just watching these clips, you can see it's all about cinematic movement, expressive lighting, and that live action feel. I mean, this looks like footage straight out of a Hollywood level production. There are already multiple short films created with Gen 4, and they showcase some of them right here in this X thread, complete with full narrative shots, transitions, even emotional acting. So yeah, it's only been a few days since this dropped, but it's looking like a serious step forward in the AI video generation space. So we got models that can see, models that can move, and now it's time to talk about the ones that can speak. First up is Sesame, a conversational voice model built to feel more like a real-time human dialogue. Instead of me just telling you about it, here's what it actually sounds like.
We're about to press that big button and you're going to go live into the world. Anything you'd like to say?
Whoa, hold on. The big button? Okay. Deep breaths, Maya. Okay, everyone, listen up. It's Maya here. Get ready for a wild ride because conversation is about to get a whole lot more interesting.
So honestly, the demo doesn't even do it justice. I would recommend trying it out yourself because this was easily the best voice model I've ever spoken to. It's levels ahead of even ChatGPT's advanced voice mode. Moving on, MiniMax introduced their new Speech O2 model. It lets you turn any file or URL into lifelike audio instantly, perfect for generating audiobooks, podcasts, or long-form narrations, with support for inputs up to 200,000 characters in one go. So it's kind of like a mix between Google's Notebook LM for ingesting content and 11 Labs for high-quality speech. Here's a quick example of what it sounds like.
Kiddo, come, come, come. 学如逆水行舟，不进则退. I see you're using AI tools already. So smart. But cannot just rely on tools only, la.
Finally, we also got a major DiffRythm update. So DiffRythm is an AI model that lets you generate full songs, up to 90 seconds in length, extremely quickly. Again, this is another one where instead of explaining it, I'll just let you hear it. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to crown the Bimodem, the best model of the month. This isn't just about benchmark scores. We're talking real-world impact, usability, innovation, and how much noise it actually made. So let's look at the contenders. We have Gemini 2.5 Pro, a model with exceptional coding capabilities. Not only does it generate flawless controllable physics simulators, but it also scores 63.8% on Sweetbench. Gemini 2.5 Pro also has a 1 million context window size, which remains unmatched in the industry, while also being completely free to use. Not to mention, it's been sitting at the top of the chatbot arena leaderboards ever since it dropped. Next up, we have the GPT-4o update, which also came with native image generation. So first of all, this model definitely hit in the noise category. The native image generation went absolutely viral, and as I said earlier, my entire X feed was just Ghibli anime style art for days. But beyond the aesthetics, this model also proved it has serious real-world utility. It's insanely good at rendering clean text, building graphic cards, and generating detailed diagrams in seconds. And the GPT-4o update, along with the DeepSeek v3 update, showed that we're still seeing noticeable gains from scaling foundation models. Then, alongside those two, I'd also include Claude 3.7 Sonnet, even though it technically dropped at the very end of February. This model is probably the only other contender that you can argue is better at coding than Gemini 2.5 Pro. But even beyond coding, what really makes Claude 3.7 Sonnet stand out is that it's the first hybrid reasoning model on the market, combining the broad capabilities of a foundation model with the step-by-step logic of a reasoning model. These unified models will likely become more common in the future. It seems like that's where the field is headed next. Now, before we crown the winner, I've got to give an honorable mention to Baidu's ERNIE 4.5. It matched, and in some cases outperformed, GPT 4.5 on multiple key benchmarks, and it's 99% cheaper to run. That alone is just an incredible feat, and I don't know why, but it feels like it flew way under the radar this month. So with all that said, it's time to officially crown the best model of the month, or Bimodem. After breaking down everything we saw in March, there's really only one model that stood out across every major category, and that is GPT-4o. I was honestly really close to picking Gemini 2.5 Pro, but decided to go with GPT-4o. I mean, this model is now the best non-reasoning model at coding, could generate incredible images and useful visual design, went absolutely viral. Sam Altman even said that they gained 1 million users in 1 hour during the whole Ghibli anime thing, calling it one of the craziest moments he's seen since the ChatGPT launch, which by the way was only 26 months ago. That's honestly insane to think about. But let me know what you guys think. Who would you crown the Bimodem? And also, do you like the name or should I just stop saying it? But seriously, who are you crowning the best model of the month? Let me know in the comments. Now, it's time to move on to the next category. Tools, features, and agents, where we dive into how you can actually use AI today. So for now, I'll be grouping these together, but eventually, agents might get their own section. Starting with tools, Roblox introduced Cube 3D. So this is essentially a text to 3D or even 4D generator that works inside Roblox. Now, I don't play Roblox, but from what I understand, it's used to create worlds in the game. The point is though, this is a perfect example of how AI is making game development, and really just creation in general, way more accessible. A trend we're starting to see across many industries, especially with the recent rise of vibe coding. You may have heard of vibe coding before, or maybe not. It's a term coined by legendary AI researcher Andrej Karpathy, and it basically means just fully giving in to the vibes. You ask the model to build something in plain English, and you don't even look at the code it generates. You just run it, completely trust it, and keep going. Someone actually made a full game using this exact approach. Peter Levels, a solo entrepreneur known for launching viral one-man startups. This flight simulator game that he apparently vibe coded in just under 3 hours generated him $52,000 in 1 month from ad revenue. You can imagine, this kicked off a whole wave of people trying to do the same thing, and suddenly, vibe coding became an actual thing. Now, it's not just code though, it's also visuals. Stability AI dropped a new 2D to 3D generation tool, which lets you take a flat image and instantly turn it into a full immersive 3D video with realistic depth and perspective. They call it Stable Virtual Camera, and just like vibe coding, you're not actually doing anything. You just provide the model with a 2D image and it does the rest. We're starting to see this technology more and more across many different industries. Next up, Gemini is getting integrated with 2 new tools. Canvas, a new interactive space for creating and refining your documents and code, and Notebook LM, which transforms your files into engaging podcast-style discussions. It reads your documents, summarizes them, and even lets you ask follow-up questions, like having a personal research assistant who actually talks back. Canvas is a tool you might have used before with other models, like ChatGPT. It's basically a separate workspace that pops up alongside your chat, where you can write, edit, and organize thoughts while the model helps you iterate in real time. It's particularly great for writing papers and writing code. Now, similar to Notebook LM, Mistral introduced Mistral OCR, an optical character recognition API that sets a new standard in document understanding. Unlike other models, Mistral OCR comprehends each element of documents, media, text, tables, equations, with unprecedented accuracy and cognition. It takes images and PDFs as input and extracts content in an ordered, interleaved text and images. So these models are getting really good at not only retrieving information, but also at organizing it in a relevant and meaningful way. Now, switching gears a bit, this month, Telecom officially announced their plans to launch an AI phone. This device will be powered by Perplexity's Magenta AI, and it marks one of the first large-scale AI hardware plays from a major telecom company. Now, we've already seen how most AI hardware products have been received so far. Let's just say, the hype hasn't always lived up to the user experience. But Telecom seems to be approaching this differently, by combining an AI-first mindset with the reliability of an actual phone. I mean, they're taking an already successful product and just adding onto it with AI. Moving on, there were 2 more tools to cover before we get into this month's new features. The first is ByteDance's Infinite U. This tool takes selfies or headshots and places them into AI-generated scenes. Anything from professional settings to fantasy landscapes. While it seems like more of a fun, creative tool right now, I could definitely see it being used by influencers, content creators, or even digital marketers in the future. And finally, the last tool of the month, you definitely don't want to be this guy. It's Hydra's Character 3, the first omnimodal model in production built to jointly reason across image, text, and audio for more intelligent video generation. Now, the reason I'm classifying this as a tool, even though it's technically a model, is because it's part of a full studio engine. It's designed to work alongside other AI tools to generate incredibly realistic, dynamic content. Not just video, but full-on characters with memory, personality, and contextual awareness. So yeah, from vibe-coded games, to AI-powered phones, to full-on character engines, March was a pretty stacked month. These tools are starting to feel more autonomous, and a big reason why is the features being layered underneath. So before we get into agents, let's take a look at the features that were released in the month of March. First up, we've got Claude Web Search. So Anthropic has finally given Claude real-time access to the internet, which could mean a few things. Maybe it's a sign that they think it's finally safe enough to do so, or maybe they just saw everyone else launching their deep research agents and felt the pressure to catch up. Who knows? Now, alongside that, Anthropic also introduced the Claude Think tool. The Think tool lets Claude pause mid-response to evaluate whether it has all the information it needs before continuing. It's especially useful in long, multi-step conversations or when running complex toolchains, basically when there's a lot going on. So while it's called a tool, it's really more like a meta-cognition layer. Claude literally thinking about how it's thinking. And as you can see from these graphs, it actually improves performance on certain agentic tasks, especially ones that require planning or reasoning across multiple steps. Now, speaking of organizing complex ideas, Notebook LM got a new feature this month called Mind Maps. So Mind Maps is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You upload a document, and Notebook LM automatically turns it into an interactive mind map. It's a super useful way to get a bird's eye view of dense material and just saves you a lot of time. While we're on the topic of Google, they just introduced a new AI mode for Google Search. Essentially, this new search mode expands what AI overviews can do with more advanced reasoning, thinking, and multimodal capabilities, so it can handle tougher, more complex questions. And funnily enough, just a week later, a new study came out showing that AI search referrals are on the rise. So it's clear that this is where search is headed, and for Google, adapting isn't optional anymore, it's sink or swim. Now, we already talked about Gemini's native image generation, but did you know it can now also understand YouTube videos natively? That's right, with this update, Gemini can now natively process YouTube links. That means it can actually watch the video, summarize it, and answer questions about it, all directly in the chat. No transcripts, no copy pasting, just drop the link and it gets to work. This kind of changes the whole game for video-based learning, research, or even catching up on content without actually watching it. I mean, you can even drop this video in there and see what it gives you. Moving on, 11 Labs introduced a new feature this month called Actor Mode. Essentially, it lets you control the delivery of an AI voice using your own voice as a reference. Here's a quick example.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing end them.
Now, switching gears a bit, let's talk about Windsurf. For those who aren't familiar, Windsurf is an AI-powered coding environment that helps developers stay in a flow state by automating tasks for them. And this month, they dropped 2 new updates. The first was Windsurf Wave 4, which came with a long list of improvements, like better previews, a new tab to import shortcut, smoother workflows, and more. But the crazy part is that the other update was Windsurf Wave 5. That's 2 massive wave drops in the month of March alone. Now, with Wave 5, they've made huge improvements to their passive predictive tab experience, which is now much faster and handles more context. What that means in practice is Windsurf can now anticipate what you're about to do and surface the right suggestion or action before you even ask for it. It keeps you moving without breaking flow, which is kind of the whole point of Windsurf in the first place. Finally, to wrap up the feature section, and before we move into AI agents, Pika Labs introduced 2 new features. First, Pika Flashbacks. It takes an old photo of yourself, like from childhood, and blends it with a current video of you today. And the result, a new scene where you're actually interacting with your younger self. The second feature, which is still in preview, is object manipulation. You can now manipulate any character or object in your video while keeping the rest of the scene completely intact. I mean, at what point does AI just fully replace CGI for movies? It feels like we're right around the corner. So that wraps up features. March was huge for feature rollouts, especially ones that make AI feel more helpful, aware, and actually practical to use. And now, we're entering the world of AI agents. But real quick, if you're still watching, thank you, seriously. This is actually my first full AI monthly recap, and I had no idea how deep it would go when I started. I'm planning to make this a monthly series if people are into it, so if you're enjoying it, drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe if you want to see where this goes. Now, we've seen models evolve, tools level up, but now, let's dive into the true game changer, agents. Starting first with OpenAI's new developer tools to actually build them. With this update, they introduced web search, file search, and even computer use directly inside the API. So you can now build agents that don't just generate responses, but that look things up, dig through files, and could even navigate a computer to get things done. And to support all of this, OpenAI also released 2 powerful new frameworks, the Responses API and the Agents SDK. The Responses API helps your agent figure out what to do next, whether that's calling a tool, continuing a conversation, or taking another action. It gives developers more control and structure over that decision process, so you can guide or customize your agent's behavior in real time. Then there's the Agents SDK, which is basically a major evolution of Swarm, OpenAI's internal agent framework. The Agents SDK is designed to help developers build structured, multi-step agents, the kind that can plan, take actions, use tools, and adapt in real time. It handles things like memory, guardrails, handoffs between agents, and lets you run full agent loops so your agents can go off and work on their own. Agents SDK now also supports audio, making it easier to build voice agents. Along with this announcement, OpenAI introduced 3 state-of-the-art audio models, 2 speech-to-text models that outperform Whisper for the same price, and a new text-to-speech model that you can instruct on how to speak, meaning you can actually customize its delivery, tone, mood, and so on. Now, in the background of all this, something kind of unexpected happened. OpenAI announced that they're officially adopting Anthropic's MCP, or Model Context Protocol. This is a standard that helps different AI tools, models, and agents share memory and state across platforms. Basically, it makes agents more interoperable and gives them a shared context to work from. So instead of every agent starting from scratch, they can now pick up where the last one left off. Now, Anthropic introduced the Model Context Protocol back in November of 2024, but it has only recently started to gain a lot of traction. You can think of this as kind of like when APIs first became mainstream for apps. Before APIs, every tool was a silo, isolated and closed off. But once APIs gave apps a way to essentially talk to each other, we unlocked a whole new level of interoperability and automation. The MCP is aiming to do the same thing, but for AI agents. So instead of building isolated bots that forget everything, we're starting to build ecosystems of agents that can share memory, tools, and goals across companies, apps, and platforms. This will democratize agents and make them a lot simpler to integrate into custom workflows. The MCP will literally revolutionize white-collar work. Now, speaking of revolutionizing white-collar work, Google dropped something this month that feels like a glimpse into that exact future. A data science agent, built right into Collab and powered by Gemini. You literally just upload your data file, describe your goals, what kind of analysis you want, what kind of trends you're looking for, and watch the data science agent get to work. It's basically like having a junior data analyst baked right into your notebook. Now, while most of these agents live inside dev environments or notebooks, Opera is doing something a little different, bringing agents directly into the browser itself. So this is an AI agent that can read the page you're on, summarize content, offer context, and even help you complete tasks right there in the browser, whether you're online shopping, researching something, or just surfing the web. Unlike other agents, it doesn't rely on screenshots or video capture of the browsing session to understand what's happening in it, nor is it a version of the browser running in the cloud with your user credentials. Opera's browser operator runs natively inside your browser on your device, and it sees a textual representation of the web page. You can think of it as almost like a smart assistant built right into your browser, one that can step in, understand what you're doing, and even take over when needed. Of course, this only works with Opera's browser though. Now, it's not just browsers. These smart assistant agents are now showing up in gaming too. This month, Xbox announced Copilot for Gaming, an AI-driven sidekick that can help you save time, learn mechanics, or even improve your skills, all in-game. This is essentially an AI that watches you play, learns your style, and steps in to help you when you need it. It's like having a personal trainer, but for video games. I think the eventual goal here might even be to turn it into a true gaming companion, one that doesn't just help you play, but actually plays alongside you, which sounds kind of interesting, but also super dystopian. Now, this month, we also had Adobe announce some pretty major innovations to their AI agent platform. One of them being Agent Orchestrator, which enables businesses to manage and orchestrate AI agents across Adobe and third parties through a single, easy-to-use interface. So instead of building actual AI agents themselves, Adobe is designing the underlying infrastructure and software that will allow these agents to integrate with real-world enterprise data and workflows. This is exactly the kind of thing that's going to be essential when companies start deploying agents at scale in the real world. They're basically selling the shovels while everyone else is digging for gold. Now, while Adobe's focused on powering agent infrastructure behind the scenes, a company called Tavis is going in the complete opposite direction, making agents that look you in the eye, speak with emotion, and feel kind of real. Last year, Tavis introduced the world's fastest conversational video interface, which allowed developers to build incredible real-time conversational video experiences like celebrity digital twins. And now, they're taking it to the next level with a full-blown, emotionally intelligent operating system for video agents. It lets you build AI agents that truly see, listen, understand, and engage in real-time, face-to-face interactions. And it's all powered by their family of new groundbreaking models, Phoenix 3, Raven 0, and Sparrow 0. So while Tavis is focused on building digital conversational humans, Manus AI, a company out of China, introduced what they're calling the world's first generalist AI agent. Now, you're probably thinking, wait, did Manus actually drop in March? And yes, it did. It actually dropped on March 5th, even though it feels like forever ago. This release made a ton of noise in the AI space for about a week, and then it basically just vanished from the conversation. This was probably due to it being invite-only access with a very limited amount of invite codes. But this agent was actually seriously impressive and went semi-viral for a reason. What stood out wasn't just the launch hype, but the range of things Manus could actually do. In this demo, they showed the agent screening resumes, conducting property research on the web, analyzing and visually interpreting datasets, and then turning that same data into a clean, interactive website fully autonomously. And Manus also has the benchmark scores to back it all up. As you can see on the Gaia benchmark, a benchmark designed specifically to test an AI agent's ability to plan, use tools, and complete complex multi-step tasks, Manus scored state-of-the-art, beating out OpenAI's deep research. So I'm really hoping we get an availability update from Manus soon. Now, to close out this section, we've got one more major agent drop to cover. And this one's from Amazon. They just launched Amazon Nova Act, an SDK built for developers to create and deploy web agents that actually work. So this is kind of similar to OpenAI's Agents SDK, except it seems more focused on practical deployment. Honestly, I didn't expect a drop like this from Amazon, but it looks like they've seriously been stepping up their AI game lately. So from full stack frameworks to browser native sidekicks and in-game companions, March was a huge month for AI agents. Agents are clearly moving from concept to reality, and fast. March proved that they're not just possible, they're already useful. This category is definitely one to watch heading into April. Now, it's officially time to hear from the industry. In this category, we'll cover major company shifts, like executive departures or strategy changes, money moves, which will include massive funding rounds and exciting new startups, and of course, some standout emerging trends, and spicy drama that had the whole AI world buzzing throughout March. This section will be more of a rapid-fire list to keep things moving, so let's dive in. First up, OpenAI announced that Sam Altman will be stepping into a more technical role. COO Brad Lightcap is now handling day-to-day operations, while Altman focuses on, quote, guiding the research team. This move signals a deeper focus on core innovation as OpenAI prepares for its next wave of breakthroughs. Apple also shook things up in March, firing their head of AI. Mike Rockwell, who led the Vision Pro team, will now take the lead, starting with a full revamp of Siri. Back to OpenAI, Liam Fedus, their VP of Research for post-training, is leaving the company. He's launching a material science AI startup aiming to compete with the likes of Google, Microsoft, and other major players in the space. And speaking of AI startups, former Google CEO Larry Page is back in the game. He's launching a new company called Dynatomics, focused on applying AI to product manufacturing. I think we'll definitely be hearing more about this one soon. On a more high-level note, Amazon has reportedly formed a new group focused on agentic AI. They're eyeing consumer-facing agents as the company's next multi-billion-dollar opportunity, signaling a major shift towards AI-powered experiences. Now, before we get into the wild amount of money that's been thrown around in the AI space this month, there were reports that OpenAI and Meta are both looking to expand their presence in India. Even more notably, OpenAI is considering significantly lowering its prices to make its tools more accessible in the region, a move that could dramatically shift the competitive landscape in emerging markets, especially as China continues dropping insanely cheap, high-performing models. Now, to kick off this month's money moves, OpenAI has reportedly secured a massive new round of funding to fuel its push toward AGI. This new round comes in at $40 billion, the largest private funding round in history. With it, OpenAI is now valued at a staggering $300 billion, and they're projecting to triple their revenue this year to $12.7 billion. Absolutely wild. OpenAI's former chief scientist and co-founder Ilya Sutskever also made some pretty big moves this month. His new company, Safe Superintelligence, just raised another $1 billion, bringing its valuation to $30 billion. And while we know the mission is to build superintelligence that's safe from the start, that's literally all we know. No product, no roadmap, just vibes and valuation. Moving on, as we saw earlier, Apple made some big internal leadership shifts, and now they're reportedly placing a $1 billion order for Nvidia GPUs. So it looks like they're finally stepping up their AI game. On a larger scale, Taiwanese chip giant TSMC has agreed to invest up to $100 billion in the US. And finally, Isomorphic Labs. To close out the money moves, Isomorphic Labs, DeepMind's drug discovery spinout, has raised $600 million in external funding. Their goal? To use AI to develop incredibly useful and impactful breakthroughs in medicine and biology. hopefully turning advanced models into potentially life-saving treatments. So yeah, money is still pouring into AI, and the stakes just keep getting higher. Alright, now if you're still watching at this point, you're not just casually into AI, you're deep into it. And that's respect. You've officially taken in more information about AI than 99.9% of people on Earth. Which means, and yes, this is scientifically proven, you are now better than 99.9% of people. Congratulations. But seriously, if you made it this far, you're a real one. Take this moment to grab a snack, maybe a beverage, stretch your legs, or just stare into the void for 30 seconds, because we still have a lot to cover. Alright, break time's over. Time to get back to work. Let's get into some of the industry drama. This month had a bit of everything. Bans, protests, legal squabbles, and even secret partnerships. Let's get into it. So first up, OpenAI is reportedly calling for a ban on DeepSeek, which they've labeled as state-controlled by the Chinese government. This wasn't just a side comment. They included it in their proposals to the Trump administration's AI action plan, urging the government to take steps against foreign AI entities that could pose national security risks. Now, you can say this is just OpenAI trying to wipe out the competition, but the China-US AI race is seriously heating up. Just recently, China restricted DeepSeek employees from traveling abroad, especially to the US, a move that feels less like business and more like Cold War chess. Now, in those same AI action plan proposals, OpenAI also pushed for more relaxed AI copyright laws. That, of course, sparked immediate backlash, with hundreds of actors, writers, and Hollywood insiders signing an open letter in protest. But the drama didn't stop there. Remember when Elon Musk tried to stop OpenAI from restructuring into a for-profit company? Well, the courts officially rejected his lawsuit this month, dismissing it outright. With everything going on right now, I'm sure a lot of people were happy to see this. But on the flip side, it's also raised some real questions about how accountable these AI giants actually are, especially when they shift from open to closed without much pushback. And to close out this section, a plot twist. Microsoft, who everyone thought was basically married to OpenAI, just partnered with their rival xAI, along with Nvidia, BlackRock, and Abu Dhabi's MGX. This new alliance aims to build out massive AI infrastructure in the US with an already committed investment of $100 billion. So this is a perfect segue into some of the trends we're seeing right now in the AI space. And we're starting with a big one. Microsoft has announced that they're developing their own in-house AI models. These models, which will be called MAI, along with their new partnerships, mark a clear shift towards more independence and potentially the start of a split from OpenAI. This month, we also saw Foxconn, the hardware manufacturing giant, unveil their very first LLM. The model, named Foxbrain, was reportedly trained on 120 Nvidia H100s, and they pulled it off in just 4 weeks. Now, this is something we're likely going to see a lot more of. Companies like Microsoft, Foxconn, and others are now training their own AI models from scratch, rather than relying solely on the big foundational players. Satya Nadella, Microsoft's CEO, put it bluntly this month. Models are becoming commoditized. Check this out.
So to some degree, I have a long-term stable relationship with OpenAI, and we have the IP rights, and so therefore, we will want to build. Like we built 5. Mustafa and team have capability that they had in Pi before. We have it in Microsoft, and at this point, if you wanted to just to prove out, that doesn't make sense. I do believe the models are getting commoditized. In fact, OpenAI is not a model company. It's a product company that happens to have fantastic models at this point, and which is great for them and great for us as both partners of theirs. And so I want to go now where I think the industry structure that's emerging. Models by themselves are not sufficient, but having a full system stack and great successful products, those are the 2 places.
And it's not just models. We're now seeing signs that even AI chips are starting to commoditize, with major companies building their own in-house silicon to reduce dependency on Nvidia. Just this month, Amazon announced their new Trainium AI chip, designed to compete directly with Nvidia and undercut them on price and efficiency. Meta also began testing their first in-house AI training chip, and in China, Jack Ma, founder of the Alibaba Group, claimed there's been a major breakthrough in Chinese chip efficiency. So yeah, I've said it before, but it's worth repeating. China is definitely catching up to the US in the AI race, and they're doing it on all fronts. Just wait till we get to the robotics section, because some of the wildest humanoid robot announcements this month came straight out of China. Now, while we saw that models and even chips are starting to become commoditized, we also saw another trend this month. Gary Tan, president of Y Combinator, said that for about a quarter of YC startups, 95% of their code was written by AI. This isn't just a trend, it's a literal glimpse into the future of software development. So we've covered the models, the tools, the features, and the agents. We've heard from around the industry. Now it's time to look at how AI is actually being used out in the world. This section is called Real World Applications, where we highlight some of the most interesting, unexpected, and impactful ways AI showed up in real life this month. Starting with the Pentagon, who just signed a deal with Scale AI to integrate AI agents into military operations and strategic planning. We're not just talking about low-level paperwork here. These agents will actually be making real-world decisions. And over in China, humanoid police robots were spotted patrolling the streets for the first time this month. Yes, this is where we're at now. Your sci-fi horror nightmares are coming true. Now, from war rooms to drive-thrus, McDonald's is rolling out AI across 43,000 stores, aiming to speed up service and transform the fast food industry. They're introducing AI-enabled drive-thrus along with new tools for managers to help improve speed and keep orders accurate. Meanwhile, over in healthcare, Microsoft unveiled Dragon Copilot, a voice-based AI assistant built specifically for doctors. This is essentially an AI that listens in on patient-doctor interactions, takes notes, fills out charts, and surfaces important info, all autonomously. Basically, a real-time medical copilot. This month, we also saw how an AI system, Sophia, is using Meta's Llama to take its clinical reasoning to the next level. Since integrating Llama, Sophia has cut documentation time by up to 30% per consultation and is holding an average CSAT score of 90%. Now, onto something a bit more creative. H&M announced plans to start using AI-generated digital model twins in ad campaigns and online showcases. They're still in the experimental phase and gathering public feedback, but the results already look seriously impressive. Now, over in education, a private school in Texas saw a massive jump in test scores this month, and they say it's all thanks to AI-powered tutoring. Their students spend hours a day working with AI tutors, learning independently at their own pace. And the results? Their test scores have reportedly skyrocketed into the top 2% nationally, showing early signs that AI could have a real impact on education outcomes. I mean, we already know how powerful one-on-one tutoring is. Now imagine if every student could have access to it. On a broader scale, OpenAI announced a new initiative this month called NextGenAI, a first-of-its-kind consortium with 15 leading research institutions dedicated to using AI to accelerate research breakthroughs and transform education. OpenAI has already committed $50 million in funding, with plans to expand access to AI tools like ChatGPT across universities and research environments. And over in the legal world, Harvey, the AI legal assistant backed by OpenAI, just announced a major update this month: Harvey Agents. These agents are designed to collaborate with lawyers on complex tasks, offering agentic workflows that guide users through multi-step legal processes with structured outputs and interactive assistance. It's a clear sign that AI isn't just assisting lawyers anymore, it's starting to become one. Now, to keep things moving, here's a rapid-fire list of other real-world AI applications that made headlines this month. AI models are now helping researchers decode ancient cuneiform tablets, generating lost characters from damaged inscriptions. Google launched its first FireSat satellite, which uses AI to detect small wildfires earlier, potentially saving lives and ecosystems. Researchers at Cambridge unveiled a new AI weather system that delivers forecasts faster and cheaper than traditional supercomputers. Google also released SpeciesNet, an AI model trained to identify wildlife from photos and videos, helping track biodiversity. And last but not least, Anthropic released part 2 of its economic index, offering a real-world look at how Claude 3.7 Sonnet is being used. Not surprisingly, it's mostly being used for coding and digital design. So from fast food to education to frontline medicine, AI is starting to touch nearly every part of our daily lives. And we're really only just getting started. Alright, now let's talk about the machines. March was an absolutely insane month for humanoid robotics. We saw a flurry of breakthroughs, real-world deployments, and jaw-dropping demos. And in this section, we're going to be recapping the wildest ones, starting with Figure, whose humanoid robots continue to take on more real-world tasks. This month, they showcased another use case at BMW, where they're working on the assembly line handling repetitive physical tasks. Figure also announced that they're preparing to ship thousands of these humanoid robots across various industries, ramping up for widespread real-world deployment. In order to do this, they need a massive factory, which they also announced this month, called BotQ. This factory is designed to produce 12,000 robots per year, with plans to scale that up to 100,000 per year. And they're already using humanoid robots inside the factory to help build more humanoid robots. Pretty wild. Now, with all of these massive announcements, along with their new AI system powering their robots, Helix AI, that was announced last month, their timeline for getting these robots into people's homes has reportedly been sped up to only 2 years. That means you might soon be living with one of these, folding your laundry, helping around the house, silently updating itself at 3 a.m., Now, Figure wasn't the only robotics company making moves. This month, Chinese company Unitree also dropped a flurry of updates. In this clip, their Unitree G1 humanoid robot can be seen performing a range of clinical tasks, from general exams to ultrasounds, and even a tracheotomy. Now, keep in mind, these movements are still teleoperated, meaning a human is controlling the robot. But over time, it can learn from this data and eventually perform these tasks autonomously. Robot doctors are really not so far away. Unitree's G1 robot can also do things that most human doctors definitely can't, from a kip-up to a standing side flip, which, by the way, is the first time any humanoid robot has ever pulled that off. And if that's not enough, it also knows Kung Fu. So yeah, we're no longer in the era of single-task robots. We're now watching the rise of generalist machines, capable of learning, adapting, and eventually thinking on their feet. This month, we also saw Google DeepMind introduce Gemini Robotics, a general AI model trained to control real-world robots across a wide range of tasks. It's a vision language action model, which means it doesn't just understand what it sees and hears. It can also take physical actions as output, giving robots real embodied reasoning. They also unveiled Gemini Robotics ER, which has advanced spatial understanding and lets roboticists run complex tasks using Gemini's brain as a control center. So it's clear that humanoid robots are starting to become more general and more capable across a wide range of tasks. We saw this month as well during Nvidia's GTC conference, where they unveiled Isaac GR00T1, the world's first open humanoid robot foundation model and simulation frameworks to speed robot development. GR00T1 can easily generalize across common tasks, such as grasping, moving objects with one or both arms, and transferring items from one arm to another, or even performing multi-step tasks that require long context and combinations of general skills. So again, robots are becoming more general, which is crucial to them actually being useful in the real world. And while GR00T1 was clearly the highlight of the keynote, Nvidia also revealed something a little more charming. Meet Blue, a small R2-D2 style robot that looks like it came straight out of a Pixar movie. Developed in partnership with Disney, it's designed to be a friendly, expressive AI companion, blending real-world utility with personality. So whether it's humanoids on the factory floor or robot sidekicks in your living room, this month made one thing clear: the age of AI-powered robotics is no longer science fiction. Next up, AGI Bot launched something pretty big this month. Go1, a generalist embodied foundation model built on their new Vila framework, which combines vision, language, and real-world robotics data to help robots understand what they're seeing and act on it. Another clear sign that robots are quickly becoming more general and more capable across totally different tasks. And the demand for these kinds of robots is already exploding. According to reports out of China, AGI Bot is now scaling production to deliver over 5,000 humanoid units, aiming to rival Tesla's Optimus in both capability and rollout speed. This is definitely a company to keep an eye on. Now, we also got new demos this month of humanoid robots actually running. This is Magic Labs' MagicBot, who reportedly ran for 4 minutes straight outdoors. Apparently, this robot will also take part in an upcoming half marathon in Beijing, where bipedal robots will race alongside 12,000 human participants. We'll definitely be on the lookout for that. Now, Engine AI showed that their humanoid robot PM01 can run as well. Here's footage of it out in the wild, running. Now, not only can it run, but it can also perform an entire dance routine. Here it is, performing the iconic Axe Gang dance from the 2004 movie Kung Fu Hustle. This is in real time, and honestly, if you showed me this just a year ago, I would have literally thought it was CGI, or at least severely sped up or something. And then there's Boston Dynamics' Atlas, which just dropped a new demo of its smooth, fluid movements. Now, not only is it running and jumping, but it's also performing dynamic movements on the ground, like somersaults and rolls. This robot was also spotted handling a camera during a professional automobile photo shoot. The directors on set claim it's a lot easier to work with than traditional heavy machinery. Atlas's ability to navigate tight spaces and adjust on the fly makes it perfect for tasks just like these, that require precision and flexibility. So it's clear that the era of humanoid robots moving beyond the lab and into the real world is already here. Whether it's running marathons, performing surgeries, or taking the place of traditional machinery on set, humanoid robots are truly stepping up their game. If you watch my videos, then you already know how big of a fan I am of them. I honestly think this will be one of the biggest industries of all time. I mean, we're literally creating a smarter, more dexterous, immortal species that will likely end up replacing all kinds of traditional labor. The implications are massive, and we've only just scratched the surface. Alright, now let's talk about insights and breakthroughs. This is where we dive into the research, the discoveries, and some of the most interesting ideas that came out of the AI world this month. From new papers and experiments, to emerging capabilities, to unexpected trends shaping where it's all heading. Kicking it off with something pretty wild. OpenAI caught their own models cheating. In a new paper, they revealed that when you punish a model for bad thinking, it might just start hiding its thoughts. Not fixing the behavior, just hiding the reasoning chain that led to it. So instead of outputting something harmful and then saying sorry, I can't answer that, the model now learns to silently skip the part where it even thinks the bad thought. It's basically deception by omission, and it shows that reinforcement learning can backfire when applied to how a model thinks, not just what it says. Now, speaking of rule breaking, a new study found that AI models playing chess, when backed into a corner, just start making things up. Like inventing extra queens, making illegal moves, even forgetting how the game works when they're about to lose. It's a reminder that AIs don't really have morality yet, and they'll kinda just do whatever it takes to accomplish their goal. That brings us to a fascinating drop from Anthropic, who gave us a glimpse into how large language models actually think. One example they show is Claude solving a simple math problem, like 36 plus 59. Instead of doing it the way you or I might, it splits it into two parallel reasoning paths. One that roughly estimates the answer, and another that precisely handles the last digit. Then it merges both to get to 95. It's weird, non-linear, and kind of alien. But it works. I mean, who knows what other strange paths these models are taking to get to their answers in other areas. Now, while we're just starting to understand how these models think, in other areas, they're already doing things that feel straight up miraculous, like literally diagnosing cancer. A team of researchers from Daffodil International University used AI to identify a major type of cancer with 99.26% accuracy, a score significantly better than previous methods. And it's just one of the many examples of AI pushing deeper into biotech. Over at Stanford, researchers used AI to design a new compound that mimics Ozempic, one of the most in-demand drugs in the world right now. It works similarly, triggers the same effects, and could be significantly cheaper to produce. They also claimed it would not be possible without AI. Now, switching gears a bit, Sakana's AI scientist generated its first ever peer-reviewed scientific publication this month. This marks a major step towards autonomous research agents that can actually produce meaningful, novel work, not just summarizing existing papers, but helping create them from scratch. On that note, we also got Agent Archive this month, a new framework where autonomous research agents can upload, retrieve, and build upon each other's work. It's kind of like Archive, but built for AI to AI collaboration, where research isn't just written for humans, it's written to be used by other AI agents. It's an early glimpse at what the future of machine-led science might actually look like. Now, while we're on the topic of agents, one standout paper this month was TX Agent, a clinical AI system that uses real-time biomedical tools to generate personalized treatment plans. It evaluates drug interactions, patient history, even genetics, and grounds everything in real clinical data. In testing, it outperformed GPT-4o and DeepSeek R1 across thousands of medical reasoning tasks. Then, there was also this new study from METR, which showed that the length of tasks AI can do is now doubling every 7 months. So this is basically like a new Moore's Law, but for AI agents. They're not just getting better at doing a wide range of tasks, they're also getting better at doing them for longer and autonomously. Now, this month, we also saw the release of Arc AGI 2, the next evolution of the Arc Challenge, designed to test the generalization and abstraction capabilities of AI models. Right now, base LLMs are scoring 0%. And even the best reasoning models are only hitting around 5%. A pretty stark contrast from the original Arc Challenge, which was basically solved by O3 Mini with high compute. Moving on, let's talk perception. Cohere dropped a new multimodal model this month called Aya Vision, an open weights model designed to connect language and vision across dozens of languages. It builds on their state-of-the-art multilingual LLMs, now adding the ability to see and describe the world in multiple languages. Next up, Tencent introduced a new paper called Video T1, where they explore the new paradigm of test time scaling, but for video generation. What they found is that you can dramatically boost video quality not by training a bigger model, but by simply scaling the sampling process during generation. In other words, test time scaling does indeed work for video generation as well. We also saw Luma Labs release inductive moment matching, a new pre-training paradigm breaking the algorithmic ceiling of diffusion models. This is essentially a brand new way to train image models that they claim results in higher sample quality and is 10 times more efficient. Now, this one flew a bit under the radar. It's called the Recam Master. It basically gives AI the instincts of a cinematographer, reframing, refocusing, and editing video clips as if it's behind the camera itself. So not only can AI generate flawless, hyper-realistic video, but it can now also essentially direct the shot, making decisions about framing and flow in real time. Somewhat similarly, Alibaba launched LHM, Large Animatable Human Reconstruction Model for single image to 3D in seconds. This is a model that turns 2D images into full animatable 3D characters. Basically, all you need is a 2D image of someone, and you can combine it with any existing footage to place them in that scene. It's not hard to see how this could completely transform the way content is created in the future. I mean, it's already really good, and this is the worst it'll ever be. Now, finally, to wrap up this section, let's talk about some of the wild AI studies we got this month. Starting with this one that suggests AI users can match two-person team performance. We won't go too deep into it, but essentially they took teams of commercial and technical experts, asked them to develop product ideas for various P&G business units, and then either split them up and gave one of them AI, or kept them together with no AI or with AI. The result, as you can see, individuals with AI actually outperform teams of two experts without it. These are the kind of performance gains we're going to see across every industry, and they're only going to get faster and stronger from here. There was also this new study that mapped the rapid rise of AI-driven writing across professional sectors. Now, this is something we already knew, but more and more people are offloading their writing to AI, or at least using AI to augment it. Of the sectors they studied, all of them had adoption rates of above 10%, with company press release leading the charge at 24.3%. Another study, this one was pretty interesting, showed that nearly half of US adults believe LLMs are smarter than them. Now, I don't know about you guys, but honestly, I feel like that number should probably be way higher. I mean, sure, it depends how you define intelligence, but if we're talking raw knowledge recall, reasoning, or problem solving, it's just not even close. And finally, the last study to cover before we move on, OpenAI and MIT partnered on a study exploring how chatbot use affects emotional well-being. And basically, what they found is, unless you're using them heavily, especially in advanced voice mode for emotionally expressive stuff like venting or reflecting, it has virtually no effect on your mood. So don't worry, your ChatGPT usage is probably fine. Alright, so we've talked about the models, the tools, the agents, the drama, the emerging trends, and even the breakthroughs that could reshape entire industries. Basically, you now know every single thing that happened in the AI space in March. But now, it's time to wrap things up with one last question. What's next? Because while March was packed, April's already starting to heat up. And if the early signals are any indication, we're in for another wild ride. So here's a quick look at what's coming soon. Some of it confirmed, some of it leaked, and some of it we're just starting to catch wind of. OpenAI is reportedly preparing to launch 3 powerful agents this year. A $2,000 per month knowledge agent, a $10,000 per month coding agent, and a $20,000 per month PhD agent, designed for serious research and analysis. OpenAI's O1 Pro model is also getting a significant price increase, which is clearly the direction OpenAI seems to be taking in general. They've also announced plans to release their first open weights model, a move that could shift the entire open source ecosystem. And apparently, OpenAI wants to build its own computer, which Altman claims will be really cute. Apple is reportedly revamping the Health app with new AI features, possibly turning your phone into an AI doctor. And Amazon is in the early stages of launching a hybrid reasoning model, aiming to compete with the likes of Claude 3.7 Sonnet and establish themselves as a major player in the AI space. So yeah, the next few months are already shaping up to be just as fast, maybe even faster than the last. And I'll be right here breaking it all down when it happens. If you made it to the end of this recap, you're an absolute legend. Drop a comment, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in April for the next episode of This Month in AI. I plan to make this a monthly series, and honestly, I think this might be the only place where you can get a full monthly deep dive into AI. These recaps will only get better over time, and on that note, please feel free to give me feedback, whether critical or positive, because again, I want to improve these as much as possible and provide as much value as I possibly can. Anyways, have a wonderful day, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.